Hi, this is Karleigh again. If you like the podcast and you find yourself looking forward to the next one, why don't you leave us a 5-star rating so that it can be found by others? Yeah, there's a big sea of podcasts out there, and it's the only way to do it is to throw that anchor out. Thank you, and don't forget to tell your friends about me too. Elves are pretty helpless when they're reborn. It takes about 6 weeks for them to get their brains back in order after such an ordeal. Fiona's taking care of him, so it should be okay, right? Well, I hope she has patience. Chapter 9, Eijlam's Anthem. When Eijlam woke, his first thought was that he must have somehow fallen ill. He had never known sickness, so he worried that something horrific might have happened, maybe an accident. He could smell foods cooking, and he saw the soft light of candles around a small table. His head hurt, and he felt thirsty, so he asked for water. Thrawn nen, but his lips did not move. His head pounded with the pain of dehydration. He looked around warily and tried to focus on something solid. It didn't come to him, and blistering fire filled his gut. Blech! He retched and spewed all over the floor and his bed. The girl with the red hair came running from across the room, but it was too late. He blanched whitish-gray, and his eyes rolled shut as he fell backwards onto the pillow in a cold shudder. "This is the sickness from coming back," she said to him gently, with genuine concern on her face. He looked at her huge-eyed, in growing awareness. She suddenly realized he had no clue what she had just said. Eijlam felt his insides on fire again. In his panic, the thick, dizzying weakness gripped his body, signaling another episode of painful retching. There was nothing left in Eijlam's gut to spew up, but his body still convulsed violently. Fiona pulled him forward into her arms, with his face gagging and drooling against her shoulder until the spasms passed. He felt comforted by her warmth and her softness pressed up against him. Her voice sounded like a humming song, speaking soft encouragements in his ear. Feeling calm made the dizziness subside. Eijlam wanted to be calm, so he took a breath and let it out slowly. He didn't have a sense of danger from this strange girl, so he just watched as her mouth jabbered nonsense. She half carried him, stumbling and weak, to a chair next to the bed so she could change the bedclothes and soiled blanket. He hung there, unable to lift his head. She kept her eyes locked on him, as if he was a bird that would fly out the window at any moment. "Do you know your name?" She didn't expect an answer while pulling off his bedclothes and helping him back into a clean sheet. She held a wet cloth to his forehead as he lay helplessly exhausted, looking at her. Her face was not so distorted this time, and he could see she was elven like himself. He weakly reached up for the tip of her ear and then to his own ear with a puzzled look on his face. She could only nod, reassuring him as their eyes met. The poor guy was so ungodly thin and weak, Fiona worried about him fully recovering without permanent damage. His eyes seemed unnaturally large on his bony face. Fiona gave him water to drink and left the cup on the table next to him. He fell asleep again, this time from natural exhaustion without the help of wizard magic. When Eijlam woke, he felt more in control of his senses. Fiona offered him some soup she had just made, and he gently pushed her hand away. Then Ualan Amas, he enunciated his words, mimicking the way she always did, as he tried to explain eating solid food is bad in his condition. This time, Eijlam was relieved to find his words came out of his mouth as planned. He thirstily drank water from the cup she offered. I don't know your language. It certainly does sound nice, though, almost musical. Fiona wistfully got up to put his untouched dish of food away. He anxiously wanted to hold on to her hand, but she had to pull away to tend to other duties. Turning on his side, he watched her working in the room until his eyes grew heavy again. Sleep came fitfully to him in this strange place. During the next days, the stringy elf got over the bulk of dread sickness. He still felt weak, but his pallor was starting to look a bit less fishy gray. He woke more often to drink water. With nothing else to do, he thoughtfully watched the girl who was always there. He was fascinated by everything she did around him. Fiona could see now that his eyes were two different colors. The right one was a pure sky blue, and the left was a golden brown. I am elven, she said, over-enunciating the words again while touching her ear. She always spoke a little too loud, as if he was deaf and not just speaking a different language. Edel, he returned in a calm voice, and almost smiled at her. Yes, that sounds like it could be right. Edel, elf, elven. To his delight, she smiled, so he smiled. He beamed with such radiance, Fiona couldn't breathe for a moment at the sight of him. He was hungry, so he dutifully ate a whole bowl of stew, and then feeling weak again, all he could do was go back to sleep. Fiona sat stunned, still holding up the spoon from his last bite, as she watched him close his eyes. Who is he? What have you brought here? Fiona half whispered again, repeating herself. She was trying to keep her voice down with little success. She stared wide-eyed at Master Fargle, expecting a fast, short answer, but knowing wizard kind, she knew this was going to be a bit of a wait. He is Edelin, just like you, Fiona, but he has come to this place from the fated lands where spirits are believed to rest in Ilmatar's void of peace. I brought him back here to free him from his curse. Curse? What possible curse could he suffer? Fiona demanded to know, still feeling the effects of his otherworldly smile. It's more like a misunderstanding rather than a curse, Fargle corrected himself, cringing at the thought of a curse. He took out his pipe and prepared it for an after-dinner smoke by the hearth fire. Here, Fiona. He handed her the leaf pack, trying to distract her. Have some of this. You relax, and I will tell you the whole story, as I know it. He sat down in his comfortable old chair. Fiona took her own long-handled pipe off the mantel and sat on her own seat. She started packing it expertly with her eyes on him. His name is Eijlam. He's the son of Thendiel Kingsaver and was born in the Third Age. Her eyes widened as the wizard's calendar was now precisely 100 years since the end of that time. "Go on," she said, gently encouraging him. Thendiel used old magics to enter the realm of Ilmatar to retrieve the king's heart. Untuoni, the lord of that place, does not allow the living to enter there. The elven spirits are presumably sleeping in peace. So Thendiel was caught there and would never have been seen again, he said as he continued to puff slowly. The song of Thendiel's life somehow reached the ears of Lord Lorien. He's a keeper of the realm of dreams in the beautiful gardens that flow there. He's the kindest and the most compassionate of the lords. He even has a secret path to the mortal realm, a stairway of sorts that he created so mortal kind could visit the peaceful gardens in their sleep and know of dreams and creativity. Fergal went off on a tangent, but then after seeing Fiona scowling at him in her chair, he quickly got back to the story. Lord Lorien reached out to Thendiel in her peril, and in connecting to her with his own strength and harmony, he gave her life. It was a seed of pure light meant to grow and flourish and keep her alive long enough to escape through his hidden pathway, with the king's heart, of course. Or so goes the legend. He glanced at Fiona. And then the unexpected, or maybe not so unexpected, happened. He looked thoughtfully at the heart flames. A little one, Eijlam, was born into the life of elves. He was pure elven and purely divine all at the same time. The boy grew up as all elves do. Ilmatar surely resounded in the joy with the song of his birth and creation. He smiled and continued the story. His mother, having never completely returned from her ordeal with the king, was not truly alive in a sense. Only a small part of her was living long enough to deliver Eijlam. It was her strong will, her love for her sons, and young Eijlam's grace that kept her alive all those many years after. Her spirit faded so thin she could no longer stand the realm of mortals, and went back to Ilmatar. On the day she left, Eijlam disappeared with her. It was a mistake. Because he was born directly from Ilmatar, he could, let's just say, easily step over the threshold. The wizard paused to consider, his pipe in his hand. Eijlam found himself in his father's gardens, where he was not meant to be. Fergal paused to reflect on that moment until Fiona cleared her throat, urging him to go on. I was asked to bring him back to this life by Lord Lorien, who is well known to me for many years, from my time in his gardens. He poked inside the pipe to see if it was still lit. Elves are sometimes reborn from the place of the spirit, but they're usually given up from Ilmatar through ocean waves or soft, warm sands. I think that's a much gentler way than the water in our small stone pool and wizard magics. He could see Fiona was distressed in hearing that. Nevertheless, he took a long, slow drag off the pipe and sat back. He's here with us now. He puffed out some smoke rings before he said, and he'll not remember his time in the womb of Ilmatar, or maybe he would, considering what he is. What is he? Fiona asked again, fully back to her first question that was never really answered. He is the, well, he's this... Fergal stopped to think a moment. Humans would say he's the son of a god. He could hear Fiona sputter. But the Eidolon call them lords, he added. He glanced sideways over to Fiona to see her reaction, and was not disappointed. Fiona jerked back in her chair and stared at him with her mouth gaping wide open. Eijlam's Anthem. I'm pretty sure the title should have been self-explanatory. The whole chapter is all about him. Well, it's true. He's coming back from the dead. So it will be a while before he comes back to his senses. I'm glad they're getting along. Fiona actually seems a little protective of EJ. Do you realize that they could be the last living elves in the realm? I wonder where that could lead. If you've been thinking about podcasting, go to your nearest app store, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM. They have all the tools you need to record or edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. The Anchor team also helps you distribute your podcast with one click. If you're listening to me right now, that's proof that it works. Mind blown. There's no rules or minimums. It's everything you need to podcast in one place. Anchor FM. It's only a click away. Elvish lesson of the day. Manu Adulatai is what Eijlam shouts out in his mind, because his lips didn't work, remember? I just read that to you earlier. He's actually saying, what the heck are you doing? But of course Fiona doesn't have a clue what he just said, and she thinks he's babbling. Imagine that. Manu Adulatai. What is the purpose that you are here? Giant question mark. So there you go. You'll probably never have to use that phrase in your whole entire life. Well, except if you catch a trespasser. Thank you for listening. You can join me in more adventures if you press the follow button. I will personally send you a new episode every Thursday, so you can hear the rest of the story. You have just a great day, and as the elves would say, Galu.